So before we got to LA, I was thinking, is it really a great place to drive? But Kyle was convincingly, or trying to convince me that, yeah, actually, Los Angeles has some of the best driving roads. So that's what we're going to talk about today, one of the EVs, actually, that we've been able to take out. So welcome back to the Audi Spec podcast. I'm your host, Francie. You join us in the car from the highway in Los Angeles, where we have enough time, believe it or not, to talk to you on the podcast, which is what I was expecting. But last night we actually had fun on clear roads with the Kyle. Fill us in. What were we driving around? Actually, it wasn't last night. It was today, just like a couple hours ago. On the Audi.
It's been a long day.
We're calling this BMW M3 podcast because that's what we're in right now. We've done a couple podcasts in this car.
That's what we're in.
Yeah. We drove the Audi.
Yes. SQ8
E-Tron.
E-Tron, which was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
fine.
It was fine. I think that was our general takeaway. Was that it was fine. We had a $103,000 version of it.
It's unacceptable. What are you saying? It's fine. You can't review a car and say it's fine. It's just not you can't have that as an outcome.
You know what FINE stands for, right?
No.
Freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Oh, can a car be all those things?
Jordan, do you have issues or not telling us? Do you really need to get you checked
I'm just
in?
quoting the Italian job.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, Audi SQ8 E-Tron.
Mm-hmm.
In a vacuum, ignoring the price. Love it. But then when you think about the price and the other things you can buy for that,
Mm-hmm.
our takeaways was like, this is going to be a great car in 5 years.
Well, it's a great car.
5 years ago.
5 years ago.
5 years
That's the
ago.
thing. So, okay, the e-tron launched in 2019.
2018.
Hiccup. 2018, but 2019 model year.
Yeah.
And it was ahead of its time, in my opinion, because the car launched with a great charging curve, with, I would say, at the time, pretty decent range, pretty poor efficiency, especially considering other cars in the market, but it was one of the first electric SUVs. The Model X had just come out a few years earlier. This was really the next one, and it was very inefficient, but okay, whatever. So Fat E-Tron came out, that's what it's called, and we own one of those cars. I love the Fat E-Tron. I think it's an amazing vehicle. It's so quiet, it's so comfortable. Audi went full send on max luxury. It really has all of the A8 level, glazing on the windows, extra padding. It's so comfortable to drive, like really amazing. And then in 2021, so a few years after market introduction, they came out with the e-tron S. And basically it was, okay, the standard 400 horsepower wasn't enough. Let's add some more. So they put in 496 horsepower, which is about 500 horsepower. And they made a tri-motor variant, which is cool. This is before Model X was a thing, I think it may have been the first tri-motor EV.
I believe so. Before Plaid was a thing, yeah.
Before Plaid, yep. So that it may be, I don't know if that's true or not, but 2021, there must have been a tri-motor EV before that, no? Now I feel like every car's a tri-motor
In Magna's
EV.
testing facility, I guess. But
We did drive that Magna converted thing. But anyway, that was cool. So it was a series production 3-motor, uses induction motors on each, but like really bad range because it still had the 86 kilowatt hour battery pack with 22-inch wheels and wide body, and I think you were lucky if you got like 150 miles of range on that thing.
Yeah.
Like pretty bad. And now, fast forward to 2023, the SUV landscape has completely changed. We have Model X Plaid on sale with over 300 miles of real-world highway range with 1,000 horsepower for $90,000.
Yep.
You have BMW iX M60, the top trim performance, which can do 330, 340 miles in the M60 trim, with a top speed of 160 miles an hour. That is unbelievably well tuned and quiet with great sound system, and that's just over $100,000. And charges pretty well. And you have the Mercedes EQE 53 AMG, which is a smaller or small-ish SUV that also is very fast and German and does all this stuff. So where did the e-tron S fit in? Well, it kind of didn't anymore. So Audi had to upgrade that one, and they have as for model year 24, gone for the new Q8 E-Tron. It's their mid-cycle refresh of the car. They have significantly increased the battery capacity by 20 kilowatt hours. So it's now 106 kilowatt hour usable, up from 86 and a half. And slightly faster charging speed, but still same base platform and everything. The standard Q8 got suspension improvements, steering improvements, chassis systems improvements, motor improvements, and some slight UI UX software tweaks and stuff like that, and some styling as well. The guy next to us in the Audi S4 likes the M3 that we're driving. It's just a press car, not our car. I don't know why I chose a manual M3 this week to shuttle everyone around, but
LA traffic, it's fine.
I just picture LA canyons, so whatever.
That's fine.
So Audi invited us to come experience. I've already driven the Q8 E-Tron. We've had one in Colorado, Jordan. We did range tests with it. We did everything we needed with it.
Yep.
But Audi invited us to drive the new SQ8 E-Tron. And the reason they invited us to California to drive it was they actually are claiming they won't have any review cars.
Yeah, which was really weird.
Very rarely do you see that. Chevy did that with the Silverado, but it's mostly just going to be the... Yeah, they had like 5 or 6 of them that they got before they get retail sold. And so I guess they'll be sold as executive demos or whatever with 1,000 miles on them or something. But basically they stole some before they went to dealers, and they said, let's let the journalists drive and experience the SQ8 E-Tron, which is the exact same drivetrain as the E-Tron S, but with all of the steering system improvements, the chassis improvements with stiffer lower control arm bushings, which make a huge difference with the styling upgrades and everything like that of Q8. So
and battery capacity.
Yeah, so it's got the same battery as the standard Q8 now, which on a full charge indicated just under 200 miles.
Yes.
Not great.
And but you can't ever use that to judge range. But it's rated EPA at 216, 218 with the big wheels, and the standard wheels are 250.
Something like that.
And the standard Q8 is, with the same battery and 2 motors, is almost 300 miles. So it's like a 50-mile penalty or 40-mile penalty to get the SQ8 over the standard car, which seems ridiculous.
And with the proper wheels, even more. Like 40% cut in range.
Yeah, don't get the SQ8 on the baby wheels, because you shouldn't get it for the extra power. It's only 90 horsepower more. 94.
Yeah, it was like 200 something foot-pounds more.
Yeah.
So it's like in the 700s.
700 torque, 500 horsepower.
Yeah.
But it's not fast.
No.
Really not fast.
That was my biggest takeaway. I never rode in the E-Tron S.
Okay.
So I've only had normal E-Tron experience. Thought the car was underpowered, and I think this is still underpowered. My opinion, this should sit where, normal E-Tron should be this level, and then they need to go above that.
Yeah. Don't disagree. So, Francie, I set the stage on the history of E-Tron. What else would you like to talk about? So we started at low speed, cruising around the town.
Exactly.
What was your impression of that?
I think that was pretty comfortable. I think as if you're an Audi lover and you have that brand loyalty, and I guess that's nice. It was a comfy little commuter driving around. That's how I drove it. I didn't get to rip it in the canyons because we didn't have enough time, I guess. But yeah, I thought that was comfortable. It was fine. I mean, the seats were actually literally uncomfortable, but that can be
so the car itself rode well. Like Audis do that well.
That's where we started. Was
yes.
If you're shopping between a normal Q8 E-Tron or an SQ8 E-Tron, are you giving up comfort? And the answer is not, unless you drive them back to back.
Slight road noise with the bigger summer tires.
Yep, totally. But very minor.
Yeah, very much so.
It's still quiet. It's still comfortable. It's still an E-Tron at heart.
And they tout these newer sports seats, and all we wanted was the other comfortable seats.
Right, the multi-contour seats.
Right, so that was one part. We took it, slow, low speeds, comfort level, and then Kyle, you took it you were the first one onto the canyon roads. So you took it into sport mode, higher speeds, ripping it around a little. And what was your impression behind the wheel?
Yeah, well, the first major improvement with the SQ8, even over the old SQ or the old E-Tron S, is the steering system. If we look at the base car, the old e-tron to the new Q8 e-tron got a 50% stiffer lower control arm bushing, which to me made all the difference. It also went from a 15 point something to a 14 point something steering ratio. It means on center feel, so much more accurate in the response. And I was really impressed with the Q8 steering. Well, when we had them on test, I actually preferred our e-tron, but I like how squishy it is
Yep.
and everything. But anyway, the e-tron S to SQ8 now is 100% stiffer. So it has twice as stiff on the bushing. So it's really connected. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like race car, you get a ton of road feel. But what it means is there's so much less deflection, so much less slop as you put in steering lock to actually what happens in the movement of the wheel. Beyond the steering, there was a recalibrated suspension, so there's slightly different damper tuning, same base air suspension system, car to car, same wheels, same arches. The arches this car looks incredible.
Yep.
The e-tron S or the SQ8, both, I think, the best looking electric SUV on the market. It's got that nice wide stance. It's low. I love the way Audis look in general. I just think this thing, Colton, what is your impression of the style?
Yeah, totally agree.
Like the presence of the car.
Yeah, it's such a, I'm not going to say underwhelming, but it's an unassuming car. Like, you don't look at that and go, man, that guy like really chose like something super crazy. It's just very Audi. It's, you know, typically black, gray, white type of Audi situation. We had a really nice painted blue one. Love the colors that they've came out with. But yeah, I think it's got a great road presence. Audi does their SUVs and wagons so well, in my opinion, especially in the styling department. And yeah, I mean, styling wise, I thought it was impressive. But suspension, I do want to touch on. I felt it was, and you've said this in the previous e-trons, you've definitely driven them more performance. They get this weird undulation under some, you know, quite heavy driving use of it, where we're like kind of bouncing around in the rear end.
It even happens under normal with bumps. You get the e-tron torque.
Yeah, the torque.
Yeah,
Okay.
when the whole rear end's bouncing around.
Yeah, definitely felt that through some corners, which I don't think is very confidence inspiring when you're kind of throwing the thing around. Do I think most people are doing that with their SQ8s? No.
Yeah, so I think in general, the SQ8 is only for a very... So, okay, actually, rest of the review really quick. Performance driving rips in the canyons. I mean, it's not fast in a straight line. Forget the power. It needs another 500 horsepower. Like, we are at the point where its competition is literally having double and more horsepower.
Yep.
Like, it's just, welcome to 2023. That's where we're at. There's no excuse at this point. And, like, you can just say, we're out of the horsepower wars, but they're out of the horsepower wars by 500 horsepower.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
So, like, you know, even Lotus Electra R is like 800 horsepower, and that to me just felt about right. I mean, we've just moved on. There's no other way around it.
Why do you think they'd just not really up that at this point? Especially when this is an iteration of something that they've been offering for a while.
I think
what it's competing
That's
against.
why it is an iteration, not a new model.
Yeah,
And so it's competing with its old self.
exactly.
Whereas all these other ones are like newer ground up platforms that are built with higher horsepower in mind. Whereas back when this came out, this was like, oh, this is your luxury SUV cruiser. And that was, honestly, back then, that's what most SUVs were. They weren't thought of as like sports SUVs. Now we're in this new realm of sports SUVs. You have the stupid XM and like other things like that.
Urus, XM, and stuff like that. Like, these were not considerations when they started designing this car in 2012, 2013.
Right.
And so you're sort of at a limit of what I think it's built on the MLB platform can handle, all these like major other things. But also, to Jordan's point, like, especially the Germans, they have a long legacy of building cars. They have a lot of internal benchmarks. They benchmark the cars against other combustion SUVs at the time, because even the Model X was just coming on the market when they were doing this vehicle. And at the time, it was totally appropriate. But the EV, like, expansion and progression has happened so fast. And Audi is so slow, and Volkswagen Group in general is so slow. We have a fantastically built car.
Yeah.
A fantastically well-engineered car, but from a software and performance standpoint is so far beyond where today has got up to. It's like the Germans know how to build a car and engineer it, and it's great. And that's why I love e-tron. We own one. It's amazing. But men, do not expect to buy one expecting the best technology, which used to be the case for the Germans.
Oh, yeah.
You used to go S-Class, has the best stuff in it. And now, you know, they're 5 years behind on certain things.
Yeah, I think that's something curious here, which is that but we also made the point that it's like not everyone needs to have launch mode, essentially. But I think
But
if
it's
you're
not necessarily about the launch performance as it is about just the sustained driving performance.
This is
Yeah.
a good lane, by the way, Kyle.
We're good?
Yep. We just
Okay.
got to north at 110 to Pasadena.
Okay, good.
perfect. So, I mean, overall,
Handles great, very
Yeah.
balanced, great brakes.
Yeah,
Great brakes.
they talked a lot about the torque vectoring, the
Mm-hmm.
the steering improvements of like the back end following the front end very quickly and easily, and
Yeah, it's still a 6,000 pound
Yeah.
SUV, but
is.
it is an amazingly handling vehicle, and actually probably the most natural feeling in the corners of the electric SUV bunch, in my impression.
which
Who
is hard.
buying an electric? Oh,
Right,
well, a
who's
Lotus
it for?
Electra is way better, by the way. So
Yeah.
that, I have to use that as a caveat. And I'm sure Gravity is going to absolutely rip as well. So, yeah, the big question is,
who's it for?
who's it for? And I thought it would make a great Audi company car.
Yeah.
Because you have to choose from the Audi lineup, and a lot of people just want to drive electric. And to me, that's like the purest form of Audi electric, because the e-tron GT is a Taycan. It's J1.
Yep.
And they probably don't do many e-tron GT company cars.
You know who I would say it's for is the people who want the badge. And it's weird to say that, but
Because the badge is worse now.
yeah, the badge.
You
The
got
badge,
the
is
badge on the
worse.
base car now.
Yes, yes.
So explain that if you don't
So
mind.
I mean, buying the badge as in getting the S,
Yeah, but
badge.
explain the what's the red thing called?
the
rhombus.
the rhombus. Yeah.
Explain how that works, because that's on the standard car now.
Yeah, so you can get the regular Q8, and then you get the S line, which gets the rhombus.
Which is just a styling
Appearance
package.
package.
Yes, it's their
basically.
S line pack, which has always been weird on Audi, but they never got the red rhombus unless it was the S variant or the RS variant. But speaking to who's going to buy this car, I think people are buying it for that badge. I have a lot of customers in the detailing world, like, yeah, they'd be fine with an A8, but they get an S8 to have the badge to show that they have the money, the things like that. They can afford that. I really think that's who it's for, in all honesty, is the people who want the best that Audi makes, and that, I don't know. That's
Yeah.
my thought.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And it kind of is. There's no RS Q8 e-tron yet.
That's
so,
what we need.
and that's
Definitely.
what we want.
Yeah, all that today made me want was like, man, imagine if they actually tried.
Like this turned up to 11. Well, it's like, yeah, all we want is this SQ8 turned up to 11 because this SQ8 is kind of turned up to 7.
It's not even. It's like 4.5. It's like not exciting in any way. Yeah, the torque vectoring thing is cool. We did a whole video on it. You can watch it. So the answer is it's 103 grand. It's too expensive. The used ones have tanked. The thing is, all used car values tank, but most used cars are older than the new cars, and the old e-tron is the same as the new e-tron.
Yeah.
There's such minor differences that a normal person isn't going to figure it out.
They've gone through like 4 name changes for the same
Gosh.
car.
Yeah, I don't understand their naming right now. It's all over the
And
place
now
to me.
they're going to make the even numbers electric and
Yep.
the odd numbers combustion,
Yes.
which is going
Right.
to just get phased out because they already know they're going fully electric with all new models by 2026.
I mean,
Right.
how
So,
many
like, why are
numbers
they going to make
going
the A4 the A5?
Yeah, it's just
Just
weird.
keep it as the A4. This is really dumb.
Yeah, we've seen this
Agreed.
a lot with naming conventions where it's just
Oh, yeah.
arbitrary.
Have you heard our podcast on the Polestar 4?
Right. Yeah, so I think overall, obviously you've said it, but it left us wanting and wanting more from Audi in the future on their BEV line. So yeah, but it's cool that we're able to check it out, especially on these roads here.
Roads are great.
Roads
It's a
are
good
great.
place to test cars. It's a great car. No one's going to be disappointed if they buy one, especially if they live in a vacuum and don't drive anything else. That's a great car.
Yeah.
The problem is it also, like, that exact car is the same as a 2019 e-tron, which is a little bit more power. So it's not like a new car. It's basically launching an old car again. And it's like a facelift where they really didn't do much to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't get over it. They added 20 kilowatt hours, and it has 196 miles indicated on a full charge.
Right.
I don't know if we talked about our
216
efficiency.
EPA.
We were canyon
Okay,
driving.
we can't. There's no
Yeah.
way we can use that as a
No, but
relative
seriously,
metric.
we were
If you're
canyon
buying this to
driving.
Canyon Carve, this is consumer advice.
1 mile per kilowatt hour. We got down to. Like,
It was not great
seriously.
efficiency.
But that's 100 miles of canyons, which is pretty awesome.
That's pretty good.
True.
Gosh.
Because
Think
I
about
could get that lower.
But I also don't feel like we were driving
No, we were
even
not.
close
No.
to like 10/10ths of anything.
No.
And it's like, wow.
Yeah, a couple hard hits and that's
Yeah.
about it. Yeah,
Right.
wasn't good. But Audi is great at turning energy into just. I don't even know.
It
It's
just
like,
disappears.
I loved what you said earlier about it. It's like, Audi heard about
This is
efficiency.
what I told the Audi PR guys.
Yeah.
I said, your engineers heard the word efficiency. They learned it.
And they
They said-
understand it, but
They fully understand it. And they said, we're not interested in that.
Yeah, the value proposition for this car compared to what else is on the market just doesn't really
No.
make sense to me. And
And I think Audi recognizes that because it sounds like they're not even bringing any in. So
Right.
it's just going to be the Audi loyalists.
probably not going to fly off the shelves. But, sometimes I guess that is obviously a technique that the automakers have. Or not technique,
No,
but...
it's not a good technique.
No,
But I think it'll be
I didn't say it was good.
Yeah,
But
is
it exists.
technique.
A technique.
They honestly probably shouldn't have even engineered this car, but I'm glad they did, and an enthusiast's going to buy it because it drives great. So it's going to be
Yeah.
the driving enthusiast who lives near a canyon who can do his loop.
It had good
Or hardly.
room, too,
It's
family.
the same as a normal e-tron, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Great size car.
Yeah, good size car. Looks nice, feels fine, drives well. Just not the most efficient or impressive BEV offering on the market. And we
In
got to
fact,
go
it might
driving
be the
around.
least impressive.
Really?
Well, really.
Yeah, because it's unchanged.
I mean, that's what I'm thinking too. Is like we were talking about in another podcast that we had. When there are automaker reveals and they're not BEVs, I'm unimpressed. But then when there's all this technology that is advancing year after year tremendously, to see something like this.
should they just not have re-engineered it and lowered the price of the existing one and left it?
I think the price doesn't make it.
I mean, I think that's just what they did, but they didn't lower the price.
Yeah.
It's like they ran out of bumpers. They're like,
But,
we
you know,
need
they're-
new ones.
they're-
There we go.
Put the new bumper out.
They're German, so it was a lot of R&D money because they have to have like 18 meetings to decide the top speed, which by the way is 130 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which is 30 miles an hour less than an iX.
Oof.
Yeah.
Well, the iX, I think, is claimed 155, and M60, but it does 160.
Well, yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think about what we told you. Would you even consider this car?
I think if they do, they can be a friend of mine, because I would consider this car. But I also buy cars I typically don't recommend to people.
Yep.
So
Right,
for me, it's like, I'm so into it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
you
okay.
also own a Coda.
Right, sir. But because I value driving enthusiasm and driving performance, but I don't think much of our audience are performance-minded buyers.
I mean,
And they are for straight line stuff. They're like Tesla performance-minded
Yeah,
buyers.
like,
They
let's
like to go, whoa!
launch it and have the best user
Yep.
interface.
Right. And I'm like, I couldn't care about straight line acceleration. I want all the, intangibles.
Yep.
Well, it's got some of those.
Yeah.
There you go, your podcast review of the SQ8.
Yeah, thanks for
Ocho.
tuning in. Let us know what you think in the comments. Happy to answer any questions that y'all have. Thanks for joining us on this creepy crawly ride in the Los Angeles traffic.
I don't think
We've
got
gone
out of
1
first
mile.
gear. I've just been clutching in and out first gear this whole drive.
But we're having fun on the out of spec podcast in the car.
Oh,
I'm getting
That
out.
was just.
Or you can
Yikes.
probably just walk alongside
Yeah,
the car.
I'll get out and run.
What happens if I open the door while I'm driving? It just lets you. It just gave me a little ding, and it says door open. Like
If
I
this were a
couldn't
Volvo, it'd
see
be
the giant hole
screaming.
in it here.
I think a car should let you open the door whenever you want,
Can we open all 4 doors?
unless it's locked.